Very dark. Hold on a second. It's weird that I consider it that dark until I start to look at it. And I'm like, wow, it's really dark in my house, huh? Okay, let's try this. I haven't been on here in a really long time, but I keep wanting to come on here and like talk to you guys and try my stream again to see how you guys have been. And they don't. So, I'm gonna come on here right now. So, one of the things that I notice that I watch when I'm on, like when I'm watching shows, that I like to like see the performer, and I don't think about myself in that way. I guess in those moments, but what I end up seeing is that the things that I like the most about them is when they're vulnerable. But yeah, the most meaningful ones are the ones that where people are like vulnerable. And it's funny because a lot of times you see them right before they die, which I'm not saying I'm supposed to or anything. I'm just saying it's just weird how sometimes those are the things that you're able to hold on to is like what somebody might have said before they did at some point, not now. But I find it interesting, to say the least. Audio better. So yeah, I think it's interesting to talk about grief. Everybody's grief is different, and it's weird how you can be attached to somebody in a blood way and not have as much sadness as somebody that you did. So like I had a friend I was going to say, and she had a friend that she would hang out with, dated a friend of hers, and that friend just didn't it's like so weird. I don't really know why, but it did. It was just clearly like it was that he wasn't funny at this time anyway, so it was like when you spoke, you were like, what else you want to say? Like you were waiting for what else you had to do. And it was just this guy that like hanging out with my sister. And best friend. It was just, this is fun. But he needs to chill out. My sister and I have a few best friends. Sean was. Sean was. He was like when you see somebody they just love, you think that was Sean. And as I got older, I realized that the world was filled with this like racist, horrible way. I remember my sister, her best friend, she was a Sean because her best friend's mother named Sean. And I didn't understand why. Sean didn't do anything good or bad. He was like a good dude. He cared about his girlfriend. He cared about my sister. He cared about me. At least that's how I could feel. But I found out later, I asked my mom, what is Stacy's mom's problem with Sean? Why? So she said, it's, and I was like, what? Like, it just, I guess in my little brain, it just didn't make any sense to me. I don't think you're born with that. Like, I think you are taught that. My mom didn't teach us that. And I said, what? She's like, yeah. Stacy's mom is Jewish, and she's from a very predominantly white, rich family. And, yeah, what about you? I said, sure. I was young. Still registered. Anyway, fast forward about 2 years. The doctor, said to me, everything. My sister had told me that Sean and his girlfriend had not split up. Not that they had split up. But that Stacy's mother was so disturbed by the idea that she, after, I mean, they had been together for a while. I mean, easily over 30 years. And for teenagers, it's good for decent chunk of time in their life. Um, but apparently, Stacy's mother had decided that it was just inconceivable for her to have her daughter be with this guy, so that, like, she went and kidnapped her daughter and, like, took her to a boarding school because she didn't want them to see each other. So she knew that because she was in charge of where she lived, and she honestly didn't care before that. Let me make that clear too. Stacy's mom didn't care that she lived at my house for a good year before that because my mother took care of her because she wasn't accepted by her own mother. But as soon as Sean became involved, she said no. And she took Stacy and she moved her, as far as I know, she moved her to a boarding camp in New York. And I remember thinking, that's so sad. Because even though I was young, even though I was like 11 at the time, maybe 12 when it happened, like when she was moved away, I remember feeling so sad because I thought it's their first love. Like they're each other's first love. You're moving them away, and then it was maybe 6 months to a year later, and I got this call from my mom in Florida, and I was sitting in my dad's, or I was sleeping in my dad's room on the floor. He would sleep in the bed, and I would sleep next to him. Because there really wasn't more than one room in that house, and I was kind of freaked out about sleeping in the side bedroom. So I would always ask if I could sleep next to him on the floor, and he was like, "Yeah, as long as you're." Like he didn't feel like it was appropriate for us to sleep in the same bed because I was like 12, which fair, that makes sense. Anyway, I was on the floor. I was sleeping next to my dad, and the phone rang. It was like 2 in the morning, and my dad woke up and he answered the phone. I remember thinking as a little kid, like somebody must have died. It's a weird thought to think as a kid, but like I had already lost my grandmother, so that was my thought. It was like nobody calls this late at night unless somebody died. And and my dad was like, "Your mom's on the phone." And I remember getting on the phone and being like, "Hey, what's up?" I didn't really know what to say until in the morning to my mother, who was down in Florida and I was in PA. But my mother had this way of like saying things in a way which had no concern whatsoever for how you would feel about it. And so she said, "Sean died." My little 12-year-old brain was like, "What?" Like I couldn't very well even figure out what the word Sean meant, let alone that he had died. And so I remember saying something there like, "What do you mean he died?" Which is such a stupid response to somebody's died, but I just didn't know what to say. But I said something like, "What do you mean he's died?" And she said, "Do you remember what I told you when you were little? That how people blow their brains out? There's brain matter just splattered everywhere, and their whole head explodes." I remember her using the word explodes, and I just still couldn't quite. I was like, "Yeah, I remember that." And she said, "I got a call from the nurses at like the hospital that he was born to, and he was dead before being there. He blew his brains out, like his head exploded." I don't really remember much we said after that, but I remember it wasn't very nice. Like my mom wasn't very soft with the way that she, gave me news. Anyway, the point is, I hung up with her. I remember sitting there with my dad for a minute and him saying, like, "What's the problem?" And I think I tried to explain to him the dynamic of why, like, he was somebody I knew, but, like, whatever. And my dad just didn't have any real patience for it. He just kept going back to bed. And then I just laid there and I tried to remember like every little detail that I could have shown. Like I just sat there and I tried to remember every single thing he ever said to me or that we did together. And I remembered that when I went back to Florida and my sister wasn't there because they were friends. And obviously he was with her, you know, best friend. So like I knew him through my sister. But I remember saying to him, like I'm here from like Pennsylvania or whatever. And like I would like us to be able to hang out. Like I think I called him or something. He just was back before something thing and whatnot. So I think I just called his house. I was looking for my sister or whatever. And I told him that me and my friend were hanging out and that we would like to, hang out with him. And he came to get us. Sorry, I can't find my cord here. But he came to get us, and